Hi guys, and thanks for joining. Today in the tutorial I'm going to take you through making 3 different hero sections for my website using Elementor, Photoshop, and unlimited elements. So each one of these hero sections has a unique design, and we're going to go through how to create the layout, how to space things out, how to place them, and maybe use some elements from unlimited elements. So in this first design, we're going to start with this one, and this tutorial is going to be a little bit slower because we're starting from Photoshop and we want to show how to export all of the assets and maybe take some font colors and stuff like that, font families and stuff like that. So over here we have the background image, and as you can see it's built from an overlay and an image behind that. I'm going to merge those two together, and by selecting these three, clicking merge layers, now it's merged and now we can export that. A good way to export will be JPEG, since we don't have any opacity over here. So I'm going to select export JPEG, and you want to make sure it's not going to weigh too much. So 121K is okay for me, and I'm going to open let's open a folder over here with assets, and we're going to call this one Hero 1. From here we don't need anything else from the Photoshop right now, so I'm going to jump into Elementor, and over here let's drop in the heading. Let's center that and make it bigger. We can take the font size from here. If we click on the text layer, we will see the font size is 86 and the font is Pacifico. Oh, but there is a gradient overlay on this. So instead of using an image or using the regular title, we're going to use a different one. I'm going to look for gradient, and this is called gradient title. This is a add-on by Unlimited Elements. Let's take this off. Great. Now we can write over here the text. Let's center that. And in style, we can choose font size 86. Let's turn enable styles on, and over here we can search for Pacifico font. Great, so we got that set up. We need to select our colors right now. So let's stand over here. We can see there is a blending option on the layer. I'm going to double click on that, go to gradient overlay, double click on the gradient, double click on the first spot, copy it, color 1, perfect. Now we need color 2. I'm going to close this, double click on the second color, perfect. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my background image, edit section, style, classic image, upload, select, and we want assets, hero, and insert media. Next thing is setting up the background size to cover. We're using cover because we want the image to cover the whole section, no matter what width the screen is. Next thing, in advanced, we're going into padding, and we're going to adjust the padding to 200 and 200. Let's go back to Photoshop, see what we're missing. Next part is this text. We're going to use the regular text editor. I'm going to double click on that to copy the text, and go back into Elementor, drag inside the text editor, and over here I'm going to paste my text. In style we will center this, in text color we will choose white, and in typography we can look for the font family. Over here let's do 18, and in typography let's go for this one. I think that's the font, maybe Playfair Display. Yeah, I think that's the font that we're using in the PSD, and we want to break the line. Cool, this looks great. Next thing, we want to add a button. Now as you can see, this isn't exactly a button, it's more like a styled link, and we do want a unique hover effect over here, so I'm going to be using unlimited elements again. I'm going to search for the word link, and I've installed some cool hover effects for links. Let's go for 170 on top and 170 on the bottom. Cool, so that's our hero section. Another thing you can do if you want to make a unique effect for the background is change it to a parallax effect by going into style, attachment, fixed. Okay, that will make it fixed and it gives a different effect. Perfect. Next section, let's see what we're trying to copy. Okay, we have this over here, and let's see the background image we want to export. As you can see, there's sort of a gradient overlay over the background image, and I don't want to merge the overlay this time. I want to make the overlay inside of Elementor. So I'm going to only select the image and export as. Make sure JPEG is selected since PNG weighs more. Oh wow, this one is going to weigh 2 megabytes. Let's drop down the quality over here to 80. Okay, that's already half. Export, and I'm going to call this Hero 2. And I'm going to show you a quick trick. By going to a website called tinypng.com, I can select my JPEG file over here, and it's going to compress it so it won't weigh so much. I mean, 1 megabyte is a bit too much for a hero section. Don't forget, this part is going to be loading first on our website, and we don't want users to abandon the website because the page is not loading. So as you can see, we compressed it by 64%. This tool is totally free. It's called tinypng.com. I'm going to download this, and we'll put it in the assets folder, override the current one, and we can use it. Perfect. Next thing, I'm going to split this section into 2 columns, and on the right column I'll put my play button. So again, I'm using unlimited elements for this one because it doesn't exist in the default WordPress. Let's align that to the left. To the left. And let's add our background image in style, classic, upload, select, Hero 2. Perfect. So that's our background image. Again, I suggest you use cover. Great. And we have the play button, and now we need to take care of the left column with all the other data. Before I'm going to start adding widgets to the left column, let's just add some padding so we can see more parts from the image. Okay, that's looking better already. And let's see what we need. We need a subtitle, a title, another subtitle, and a button. So the way I'm going to do this is adding a text editor for the subtitle. Let's make that white. Leave only a little bit of text. Let's add a heading for the title itself. Style white. Let's copy the text. Let's see the font size by clicking the text. So it's 81 and the font is Railway. And the font is Railway. Perfect. I think that's a bit too bold, so the weight I'm going to change to something like 200. Okay, this is looking better. And in my design we can see the font color, so let's copy that color and change the text color. Perfect. Now let's go back to the background and add the overlay that we wanted, this white gradient overlay on top. So edit section, style, we can add a background overlay. We're going to use gradient. Color number 1 is going to be white. And color number 2 is going to be white as well. The difference between color number 1 and let's change the opacity to full. And the difference between color number 1 and color number 2 is going to be that the second one is going to have an opacity. So over here we can change the alpha. We're going to try to set it. We can go almost all the way down, and we want to take the gradient from coming, instead of coming from up to down, to come from left to right. So we can change the angle to 90. Perfect. And now if we want to change the opacity, this is the time to do it. Perfect. I think that's looking almost exactly like the example. So let's finish our subtitle here above, which says Handsome Studios. Under text color, I'm going to choose black. And in the example, under typography, I saw there was some letter spacing. So I'm going to push that out to make the letter spacing. Let's style our button. Take the color from here. It's the background color. Perfect. And the icon color is white. About size, we can check the size over here by going to window info, and it's 168. So I'm going back to Elementor and I'm going to change the circle size to 168. We can change also the icon size to 48 or something like that. Yeah, that's looking good. And there was a little bit of alpha also on this play button. Not too much, but we can move that down something like 80%. Perfect. We need to push that down a little bit. To push it down, we're going into advanced padding, and we're going to add some padding top. Perfect. Another cool thing you can add in the play button is a ripple effect. So if you enable ripple, it will start making cool effect. You can change the ripple color to the same color of the button. And I think I'm going to push this button a little bit to the right. I'll do that also using padding. So padding left, I'm going to add 30 pixels. Perfect. Next thing, I'm going to add a button, learn more. I'm just going to skip this subtitle because it's easy. Everyone knows how to do it. Let's go to button. Drop down a button over here. And the size, I'm going to use large. We want it to be rounded, so I'm going into style, border radius. I'm just gonna write a big amount over here. And let's take the color by clicking, double clicking on the shape. I'm not on the right shape. Great, this is the one. And I'm going to copy the hex color and paste it in background color. Perfect. So I think you got the hang of this. I'm just going to go to the next section. So we have 2 unique sections, and let's do our last one, which is a real challenge actually. So over here we have our third one. Let's take out this time I will merge my layers just so it will be quicker. Let's merge layers and export as. Going to export this as a JPEG. Export. And we're going to call this Hero 3. And what's a challenge over here is that some of the content is bordered and some of the content isn't, but it's still all in the same section, and we want to give a border to the column. So that's one of the challenges. And another challenge is, how do we push the button on top of the border once we have the border? So I didn't rehearse this before. I hope I will manage making it. First things first, I always like to start with my headings. Let's center it. And let's add I'm going to use, for this line, I'm going to use one of the unlimited elements and dividers, which is called diamond divider. I showed it in one of my last, let's see over here. I don't know why it's not, oh, here we go. It has snapped. Perfect. And now let's add our background image. Edit section, advanced, style. Upload, select Hero 3. Advanced, padding, as usual, 200, 200, cool. Now, let's go to this part of the column. In style, let's add border type solid, and we're going to change the width to something like 10 pixels. Perfect, and the color to white. Another thing I'm going to do is add some padding for the column. let's say something like 50 pixels from each side. Now this is way too wide. To make it less wide, and I'm going into the section layout, and we can decide how big the width of the section is. So let's say 500 pixels. Perfect. Let's change this to white, and maybe change the typography to something like Poppins. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Change our separator also to white. Let's copy the text. Let's see if we have this font over here in Elementor. Oswald. Okay. Perfect. Next part is some text. We're going to use the text editor for that. I just copied it. Widgets. Perfect. Line to center. Text white. And I think this is looking very, very good. Let's add some line breaks. If you don't want the line break to break so much, you click Shift and return. Otherwise, it does a double line break. Next thing is the button, our red button. Widgets, button, drag it inside, center it. Perfect. Now we want this button to go over this line. Before we do that, what I'm going to do is in style, take off the border radius. In content, I'm going to make the size large. In style, I'm going to make the background red. And over here in the column, I want to take the padding bottom off since we want it to touch. But touching is not enough. We want it also to overlap. So I'm going into the button, advanced, and over here we should be able to add some margin bottom. -10 we need. Perfect. So that's exactly what we wanted. Now, next part is to add some social icons here underneath. I'm going to use again some widget from Unlimited Elements, which is called Sexy Social Icons. But if I drop it here, it will always be inside of the existing column. So what I need to try to do is add another column underneath, but stay within this background section. So I'm going to try to use an inner section. Oh, I can't do that. Maybe I should have done that before. Let's try to add an intersection over here. We're going to delete this column. I'm going to move everything inside of it. Perfect. Let's cancel. We do need to cancel our border over here. So let's choose none. And we do want to add a border over here. So let's go to Style, Border, Solid, 10 pixels, white. Okay. We got that going on, and underneath we want to add another intersection. Perfect, it's been added. I'm going to delete the left column and I'm going to drag inside my social icons. Icon size, let's change to 16. And we can add some padding on top by going to advanced, padding, top, and pushing that down. Perfect. So that was a quick explanation of how to make some unique hero sections. Over here we used a gradient title and a cool link hover effect. Over here we used the play button, and over here we used some cool social icons with a cool effect. And right out of the box we learned how to overlap stuff and how to export layers from Photoshop. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. And if you have any suggestions, please post them in the comments. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool videos. Thank you so much and see you next time.